Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to Johnnywood, the John Grimes Show. Talking the nitty gritty here from Music City. Yeehaw!
They say it ain't who you are, but who you know. Fake it till you make it go high when they go low. Standing out is gonna be a lonely road. So I'm following the one that's paved in rhinestones. Must be doing something right. I'm just gonna shine my light, 'cause I've never been one to do things by the book. Say the bleach went to my brain, say my dreams are so insane. Oh, but I'm just gonna do what Johnny would. Call me shady, I'll spill the tea. That's a compliment to me. Oh, but I'm just gonna do what Johnny would. Oh, I'm just gonna do what Johnny would.
Honey, now let's keep it real. Don't forget it. Hey y'all, this is Devin De Laurentiis. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where do we start? Oh my goodness. We were just talking earlier today about when we met.
20 years
ago.
Yeah.
20 years and
Been a
2
long
husbands
time.
ago, 3 husbands ago.
Oh, yeah, for you, maybe. I'm still looking for the right first one.
Aw. Gosh, today was kind of very retrospective because we've covered a lot of miles together. Literally.
We've put a
cross
lot of
country.
Miles on the road. Yeah. All the way from LA to Nashville.
Right. So I was in LA working, doing hair, and Devin, you were doing skincare, esthetician work.
Aesthetics. Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, that was kind of dynamic. It was a great period in my life. It started out a little bit rough, but it ended up great because I met you. I had some great clients. Made a lot of money at that point in my life. Yeah, it was going well. Yeah.
Was it rough before or after? Like, depending on the client.
No, it was rough when I first got started. I mean, when you're new in any
Yeah.
profession, it's a little bit tough.
Yeah.
And skincare is no different. But the one plus was I was a guy, and there were not a lot of guys in skincare back at the time.
Okay.
So being a guy, I was kind of like everyone wanted the gentleman, everyone wanted the guy. The girls all wanted to come to a guy, and so that was something different. It was kind of like a novelty.
Gotcha.
So people either loved me or they hated me, but most people were very welcoming, and they're like, "Yeah, a guy, finally a guy to do my skincare, to do my facials." So it worked out really, really well.
And I'm sure they were entertained.
Oh, they were entertained.
Thoroughly.
I made sure of that. It's all about the soft skills.
2 for 1, get more bang with your buck.
Right. Well, especially when I started working more with a celebrity clientele, that was really kind of where it took off. I mean, those people, a facial's a facial, right? Let's face it. At the end of the day,
Depends.
Well, yeah, those happy endings. It's kind of...
That was at the other
place,
right?
But people pay for the soft skills. They pay for they wanted to know what's going on in the community, amongst other entertainers. Where's the next hot party? What's in style? What's in fashion? What's the next skin treatment that's coming up? What's big? That's what they want to know, and that's almost more important than.
So you mentioned celebrity clients. Am I remembering right that Faye Dunaway maybe was a client of the spa?
Yes, she was a client. Cameron Diaz, Gwen Stefani, the Pussycat Dolls. There were lots, there were lots.
Do you have any particular story? One client stands out more than another?
Gwen Stefani was great. She was learning to cook and bake before she had her first child. And so she used to come in and bring brownies and stuff that she had never made before. And she's like, "Here, try these. You have to see, am I any good at cooking or baking?" And they were fantastic.
Reminds me of Betty White's crusty muffin.
Oh.
Florence, there's a tangy taste in this muffin. Is that a cherry?
Oh, no, my muffin hasn't had a cherry since 1939.
Gwen Stefani's
crusty muffins.
brownie
Mm-hmm.
Did they have a
So-
name?
No, they did not. She
Okay.
wasn't even sure that they were good,
Okay.
but she brought them in and they were delicious. and-
Yeah. So they weren't hockey pucks.
Right. No, they were
Okay.
not. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I haven't had Gwen Stefani's muffin, but I've had her brownies.
So speaking of skincare, so Devin has always had wonderful skin. You know, he's kind of like
I
the
don't know about that.
Dick
but-
Clark of the esthetician skincare business. But a couple years ago, you kind of tested the waters of a little darker, a little more tan.
yeah. They called me Crispy Brown.
And there already is a crispy
Chris
brown.
yeah.
If
That's a different Chris Brown, but
talking about crispy
Crispy Brown. Yeah.
y'all
brown.
should Google crispy brown
Yeah.
if y'all don't know.
To get tanned, I want to be crispy brown. Do you know a way? And he knows a really good solution. I got from my doctor 3 injections, and beginning from the first week, I am getting darker, darker, and darker. Going to show you my old makeup. And I'm really happy that it works very well. You can see a little bit different.
She said she just started to dive into her inner self and found that she identified more as African American
Right.
woman and started to
She
do
was
some
doing
skin.
some serious stuff.
Skin. And then
Really?
her hair started coming in curly and all the things. It just
Yeah.
snowballed. But
She was a German woman, I believe.
okay.
And she decided that she was going to be African American because that's what she felt like inside. And she was a bodybuilder.
Did you relate to that? Like when you.
Not really. I really didn't. I think more for me, from my perspective, you know, growing up in Los Angeles, which has a huge Latino population, I think that I kind of identified more with that population.
I always
So-
wanted to be opposite what I was. You know, I was blonde hair, blue eyes, light hair.
Right,
And
we
I
always want to be
my
something that
was
we
drawn-
aren't.
Right.
If you have curly hair, you want straight. You have
But
straight
I was
hair, you
always
want
drawn
curly.
to the dark features and stuff like that. My stepbrother was Italian, so
Right.
I was always jealous of the dark
Right.
features. Yeah.
Yep,
Well, you got pretty dark.
I did. Yeah, I got very dark. Probably the darkest in my life that I've ever been. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
I mean,
have
you
to
thought I came
show
to a
everybody.
Halloween party in blackface, so
Well, I know you wouldn't do that,
no, I would not.
but people were questioning.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Huh.
it was my
Did-
tan. I do tan very well.
Okay.
I have a little Italian in me.
Uh oh. when was
A
the,
little
last,
Latin
when was
in
the
me,
last
too.
time? Oh my gosh. Well, I remember back at the Abbey in West Hollywood, we were featured as some of the most beautiful people.
We were. Yep. Back
Oh
in
my
the
gosh!
day.
If we could go back and know what we know now, right?
Yeah. Yep. Times
Hmm.
change. I don't know if we'd have that same title today, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
So when did you know? I mean, for a lot of us, when did you know that you were born to stand out? You know, Dr. Seuss would say, you know, why blend in when you're born to stand out? You
Right.
seem to, before I even got there to accept myself and all the things, you know, we want to do, you seem like you just naturally, like, Devin was Devin and having fun and
Yeah.
were you always that way, or did that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you never-
I just think that that's, you know, it's just like inner talent and stuff. You know, some people, you're just born with it. You just know. And I've always stood out, you know, and when I was younger, of course, I didn't want to stand out. You know, you want to blend in when you're younger. But as you get older, you kind of start to realize, you know, that you are different. And, you know, you have to embrace those differences. And it was just me to stand out, you know. I mean, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But, you
Well,
know,
when you got in town yesterday or day before, I was actually worried about you because you were so quiet, and I
Quiet.
was like, "What's wrong?" You know. Like,
yeah. Well, you
Does
know,
that
we all have inner things and inner struggles that we
do
deal
you
with,
ever
but-
feel like because you're so vivacious and funny, like, do you ever feel like if you're not in the mood, you have to people like when I was asking you what's wrong, like, do you feel like you have to be on all the time, and sometimes you don't want to be, or?
No, in fact, I think it's almost more of the opposite. For example, when I saw the snake in the pool this morning, or the turds on the floor the other day, I'll say something in total seriousness, and people never want to take me serious. They always think I'm kidding, and I'm really not kidding. I mean,
there's a snake in the pool. No, there's not a snake.
There's just weird things. Weirdness has always, kind of surrounded me, and unusual circumstances.
I mean, some of the stories.
I know, and it's, they're totally.
One I've never forgotten is the day his penis fell off at the gym.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that day.
Which we were like, whatever, that didn't really happen. But
well,
it's just like
maybe not completely. It did grow back. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of growing that needed to do. But at that time, I had a friend who was dealing with some health issues.
Okay.
And I guess that I had, but didn't know it at the time, I had contracted scabies.
Okay.
And so that was...
I feel like on the Titanic, they checked you for scabies. And
right, yeah, probably. Well, I wasn't on the Titanic, but I had contracted scabies. Oh my God. If you've never had them, you don't ever want them. That is the worst. I mean, the itching is unbelievable.
I've had the shingles before, but...
That's a little different.
I had scabies and didn't know it.
Yeah, I haven't had shingles, so I don't know about that. But yeah, the scabies were the worst. I mean, the itching was absolutely crazy, and the scratching and the uncomfortability. I mean, I couldn't sit still for 5 seconds. It was rough. Yeah, you don't ever want to get those, I'm telling you. But yeah, I had scratched so much.
So what happened? Did everything just sort of like... hardened, like
it scabbed over. It scabbed over. Everything scabbed over because not only were the scabies eating away at skin, but your scratching and itching kind of causes a lot of blood and yeah. So and between my fingers as well, they tend to cluster there. So I was at the gym working out, and pieces of penis just dropped out of my shorts.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and the cameramen are grimacing right now, but yeah.
Well, here a penis, there a penis. I mean, once you've seen one, I guess you've seen them all, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, they all look the same, right?
At the gym, and there you are.
Oh, goodness. Something I love about you, this kind of makes me think of like something Molly Brown would have done. Okay. But when we go out to dinner, we're going to move on to something else now.
Okay.
You always order dessert first.
I do.
Okay.
So that's the best part of the meal.
Right.
And if you don't order it first, you might not have room.
Might not have room.
Yeah.
And see, a lot of us will eat, be full, but still want that dessert item. You know what I mean? And then we're already stuffed. But
right, so then you skip on the dessert.
Yeah. Or you just gorge yourself to the point you're miserable. So...
Right.
I've never tried this, but I've always thought about it, like having the dessert first. So
I highly suggest.
And then you have leftovers the next day.
Right. Of good food, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the scabies, are they kind of like pork rinds when they fall on the ground? Like what? I'm trying to... I know we stopped talking about it, but I can't get it out of my head. I can't get it out of my... I mean, is it like, not head cheese, but like...
God, no.
Pork rind, like...
It's...
crispy?
Like scabs, giant scabs of skin. And when they are to a certain extremity, not meaning the part of the body extremity, but to a certain extreme, when they fall off, they actually resemble the part that they are falling off from, because that's what they actually are. So little pieces of penis were falling off.
Okay. So we just had cicadas. We just had cicadas. If you're from Tennessee or anywhere in the South, we have the cicadas.
Texas, yeah.
And I just saw one. There's one over here. Like, I don't know if he's alive or not, but I feel like I should almost bring him over, but he may be alive. But they just leave the shell. So that... I guess that's kind of like the idea of it.
That's kind of what it was like, yeah.
Okay.
Like the shell of my appendage was, falling on the floor.
And really did anybody see this happening, or what did you do? Were you like kind of...
You just walk away and pretend it's not yours.
That's his penis.
Like, oh my God, look at that person over there. His penis fell off. It's like, is that a penis on the floor? It looks like a penis on the floor. But, you know,
Well, I love how you're able to laugh at everything.
I
you know?
laugh at everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't take yourself too
That's a
seriously.
gift.
Yeah.
You know.
People are way too uptight
Yeah.
now, and they just don't laugh at themselves.
Yeah.
And I think there's humor in everything.
Yeah.
So probably too much so,
Yeah.
because I worked in the medical industry also for a while, and that is just not really a quality that you want to have in the medical industry. So that didn't work for me. But I think that, yeah, you can find humor in almost everything, and you can't take anything too seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, you live once, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just laugh at
Laughing
it.
will get you through a lot.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. Yeah,
So you said you weren't really good at in the medical field, but tell me what you're doing now. You don't have to say who with, but
right.
you're
Well, I do work in the airline industry. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
a flight attendant, which I do enjoy my job. I love it. The job is great.
Are you able to bring me that humor to the
Yes. Yeah.
cockpit?
Yeah. Well, I bring something to the cockpit, all right, but
The airline industry, like, we've seen a lot of changes the last few years, you know, since COVID, pandemic, and all that kind of thing. So when you see now, because we have the TikTok and all the, you know, social media, you see the people like getting
Right.
into fights, or
Right.
somebody's going to open the door, jump out the plane. Like, does this stuff always happen and we just didn't see it or hear about it, or is this higher?
well, I think it has always happened to some degree. I think that it has increased over the years, but I also think that there's more awareness because of social media. You know, people are filming it more, where in years past you weren't able to. You know, it was just your word, or a story here or there, or someone's account. But now you actually have video accounts of this kind of stuff. Now, generally speaking, and I think this is true of any carrier, it's not specific to one or the other, but now, you know, I think the industry in general is at a point where if there's an issue, because we don't want to be filmed on, you know, public media or anything like that, we don't want to have that kind of exposure. Generally speaking, what we do is if there's an issue, we tend to just let the captain know, and then our captain just says, you know,
Turn this thing around.
if we're at
Man.
that point. But sometimes we're not even out of the gate yet, and it usually happens before you even leave the gate. So we just let the captain know what's going on, and the captain just makes an announcement that there's a mechanical or there's a weather delay or some other delay, and we deplane the whole aircraft. Then, once everyone's off, everything is fixed, everything's fine, and we reboard, but we just don't reboard the offending passengers. So now it's, you know, no one can film that. There's nothing.
Now, what about passenger gets up, starts projectile vomiting? I'm sitting here where she starts spewing the vomit, and she walked probably about 5 rows and just threw up on everybody. I think I got a $100 gift card out of it. But a month before that, it was in the news that somebody had diarrhea and had how do you say it? Shat the plane?
Shattered?
I don't know, but like if this, so that was happening and you're there, because I felt like when the girl was throwing up on my flight, nobody knew what to do. It was like everybody froze. You know, it's like, what are we going to do? And then they had a little paper and they were trying to like pick it up with like little, like a business card, you know, and clean it up. And then they put a blanket down. But like, you know, people have had babies on airplanes, right?
Right.
Okay,
People
so
have died on airplanes. Although you cannot officially die on an airplane, but
How's that?
well, you can't die in the air.
Because
That's
the oxygen and the
No, it's
in
just
keeps you
because
alive?
you're in the air. No, I'm just saying you can't die in the air. So if a person does die in the air, they're not declared dead until they land, and then they die in whatever city or state or country they're in. But you don't die in the air. You can't.
What if you
It's
were in
just
outer
not.
space?
Well, you would wait until you're not in outer space.
Huh. That could be years or something.
It could be.
If you were just floating around.
It could be. And, you know, things like that may change as we start.
So if somebody vomited or had an accident, the offender, as you called them, like what, like, do you have to have like skills? Like they started taking her shirt off, you know, she was
Well,
covered. Like, where do
you
you
do.
know where to
Well, you do.
draw
There's
the?
not a formal training on that. And even if there was, you have to realize that people are people. And you can't take that away
Yeah.
from a live person. So,
But
you
they
know,
may
we're
not be,
trained.
but they may not be live because
The
you're in the
passenger
air.
may not or whatever, but I mean, generally speaking, I mean, they train us to deal with in-flight emergencies all the time, fires, you know, whatever it may be. But in reality, if there really was a fire, some flight attendants are going to freeze and not have any idea what to do just because that's how they are as an individual person. So you can't really train somebody
Is
to
there a
do that.
problem solving, you know, in your training though? Is there are some people like was there ever a test or like a who's good at
There is not a test. I mean, you can't really test someone's ability to deal with stress in a real situation unless you are really in that situation.
I know like firefighters, they'll, you know,
Right. Well,
they'll
we do go
put a
through
house for
very rigorous training, and every year you have to go to recurrent training where you have to deal with fires and you have to deal with emergency procedures and all that kind of stuff. And it's very formatted. But in reality, if that were to happen, you know, is it really going to work out that way? Probably not, because, I mean, passengers aren't just going to sit in their seat and wait for a flight attendant to say, you know, unfasten your seatbelt, get out. You know, they're going to be panicked. They're going to be screaming. They're going to remove their, I mean, they're going to be charging the door. So, I mean, they teach you under perfect situations, but in reality, you're not going to have a perfect situation, you know? So you just make the best of it. And it's proven that it actually does work. Most people, when you go through this training and you know, you learn what you need to do, when it really happens, we as flight attendants do what we need to do. It really does have an improvement, as we saw with U.S. Airways flight, the flight that landed in the Hudson in New York. Everyone survived. There was no problem. Sometimes things like that happen. I mean, if the plane explodes in midair, you know.
well, not keeping it dark. But you and I we're both getting older. We've been talking about just like, you know, I've lost my mom. You've lost.
Right.
Remember
Yeah.
knowing
My
your
parents
mom.
are both gone. Yeah.
Both your parents are gone. So you know you've done a lot. What goals or bucket? Do you have a bucket list of things you still hope one day you might get to experience or?
Well,
is
you
there
know,
anything?
personally, I've had this discussion with a lot of my friends and my family, and I've actually accomplished, I'm one of the few that have accomplished my original bucket list.
Okay.
But, you know, as you continue to age and you accomplish things, you add new things.
Okay.
So there's always something new
So
because
what's-
I ain't dead yet, honey. So I'm going to
So
keep adding.
what's something new then?
Something new.
What do you?
Well,
First thing that comes to
gosh, I've
mind.
met everybody that I've wanted to meet. I've been everywhere I've wanted. I'd like to maybe live abroad. I think
Okay.
that would be exciting. I've never considered that before, but now I'm kind of at a point where I think that that might be something I would like to do. Maybe there's a lot of places that were not originally on my bucket list that you start adding. Well, you know, I've seen all this. What's left to see? Well, that would be interesting to see. I would like to see this. I'd like to see that. They weren't on my original bucket list, like I said, but there are things that you add because
The reason
ain't
I
dead
asked
yet.
this is I was asked this recently, and I didn't even think about places to go. Maybe because I'm not as travel diverse or something,
Yeah.
but or you know, I kind of tend to go back to places I love already or I know, you know, I'm gonna enjoy. But yeah, bucket list can be a lot of different things because I started thinking about
Okay.
things I still wanted to learn, or you know, whether it's history I wasn't paying attention to in school, or just more cultural stuff with like even food and wine and those type of things. But yeah, that maybe the travel part will click more.
There's so much
Yeah.
in this world to see. Just within America, there's so much to see. And I mean, I'm always amazed. And I can always find something that just interests me and captures my attention. Yeah. I mean, life is really too short, and you only have this moment, you know, out of all of eternity, out of all the things that have happened in the past, out of all the things that could happen in the future, all we have is this moment. So you really need to live in it. And I try to
have
do that.
dessert first.
Definitely have dessert
because
and
you might
cocktails before 9 a.m.
not. Speaking of cocktails before 9 a.m., is it true that you really used to have your cereal? Was it champagne you would
I
instead of
did,
milk?
yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a big dairy person.
Okay. So,
And,
when in doubt, champagne with your Cheerios.
Yep, it's good. If you haven't tried it, I
Huh.
highly recommend
It
it.
sounds could be like kind of French-like cuisine.
Yeah. I guess it could be. Yeah,
You did
'cause-
serve that on an airplane.
No, I don't think they're going to be doing that. But
A little bubbly with your cereal. Always want to give somebody like a moment to think about themselves, you know, like your strengths and so forth. Like you've got the humor, the wit, the charm. You're a loyal friend, very loyal.
I'm a Taurus.
You're a Taurus. But what do you most what's the word? I feel like I'm getting stumped and I'm slumped over. Stumped and slumped.
Stumped and
This is the
slumped.
stumped and slumped segment. Anyway, what's your favorite thing about yourself?
My favorite thing about myself. God, there's so many.
I love that because that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm.
No,
we're trying to
think
get there too. So
my favorite thing is my loyalty. I mean, I do have a great, you know, my sense of humor and being able to make fun of myself and not take anything too seriously is definitely something that I pat myself on the back for. But my loyalty, I think, you know, I just don't like parting ways with people. Loss is like a big thing that I struggle with. So I tend to, you know, probably take more than I should in some situations, but I'm definitely a very loyal.
take more.
Well, I mean, sometimes I should probably let bad people go, but I continue to hold on just because, you know, that's the kind of person I am. I am very loyal.
That's
So,
another topic I have yet to cover, but I got plans for an episode on how to break up or survive a breakup with friends and people you love,
right,
and
yeah.
and how to navigate
That's
all that.
tough.
That's a really
Tough,
really
yeah.
that's a big one.
It
But-
is a big one.
But
Very big.
well, I love that you see your strengths, and I love you.
Well,
And
I love you.
this has just been fun. It's
It
like
has
memory
been.
lane. I
It
feel like we
has.
need to go get like a.
Put on the
One of the-
Angora fedora from Andorra.
I know it's a little warm here in Tennessee, but anyway. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Are you heading back back to Dallas tonight? Or
I
are you
am.
gonna flight
I live
tomorrow?
in Dallas now, and this afternoon I will head back.
Well, they say tequila makes your clothes fall off in Nashville, but I guess
Scabies makes your tallywhacker fall off. I'm telling you.
well. All right, now talk is cheap and time's expensive. Thanks for tuning in, and please subscribe. Have a good one.